Thank you so much. I want to say I really love you, and you helped me so much. And you showed, I learned to manifest so many things, material things, and money was easy, and career and relationships I could get it all, no problem. But I don't love myself.
Well, you have to be loving yourself more than you're allowing yourself to understand, or the good stuff that you care about couldn't be flowing in.
Okay.
This is the way we like to explain this, and we're going to specifically point it to you. You're going to hear this. When we stand in front of people, and we do it often, and we're really sure of what we know, and so with the cooperation of Esther, we just flow and blow hour after hour about the laws of the universe and the way it works and who you are and how you fit in and blah, blah, blah. And we make suggestions to you, but we're very clear about what we know. But from your vantage point, as people listening in, it's very likely that we are just another voice with another opinion, which might be right and might not be right, might work for you, might not work for you. In other words, there are so many voices in the world suggesting things to you. Our skill is in understanding where you are and guiding you to some behavior that, when you apply it, could cause your vibration to rise, could help you to get into that vibrational equivalency, where then what's in your vortex and the knowledge of your inner being can flow, because you're letting it in, into your consciousness, where you're interpreting it, where you're getting it, where you get an impulse. And when you follow that impulse, and that impulse pays off or pans out or leads you closer and closer to the things you want, that is in fact the only place that worthiness or loving yourself can come from. Until you do the work, these are just more words. But when you do the work, then the knowing is yours, then you own it. And we know for sure that you can't be having the results that you're having without knowing that to a greater degree than now. There might be something stuck in your vibrational craw. There might be others who are not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, who are holding you as their object of attention and finding fault with you in some way. There could be others that have your attention that are sometimes holding you away from that, but it has to be present. Do you know what buyer's remorse is? Buyer's remorse is when you go out and you're all excited and you buy something, and then you come home and you wish you hadn't done it. It's a common expression in humandom. Buyer's remorse. But what it really is you may very well have been really in sync with your inner being and received inspiration, and you followed the inspiration, you did something, and it felt like a good idea because it was a good idea, and then later you're focused upon something else, so you're not under the influence of your inner being, you're under the influence of something else, and then it doesn't seem like such a good idea. So that's what's happening with you. When you're under the influence of who you are, you let thriving happen. But when you're not under the influence of that, you start beating up on yourself in a sort of buyer's remorse, I don't like myself so much way. Now, we can talk about it and help you to clarify some of it if you want to, or whatever you want.
Oh, okay. What do you want me to say?
We want to know what you want to do. In other words, do you want to talk about the specifics of why you don't like yourself so we can talk you into liking yourself? Do you think you're in a place that we can talk you into liking yourself? Or do you think you don't like yourself enough that nobody can talk you into liking yourself? Or do you think you only like yourself when things are going really well, and when things are not going really well, then you don't like yourself? And do you think not liking yourself is a product of what's happening in your life experience? Are you a conditional liver? Do you only feel good when the conditions are going good and you don't feel good when the conditions are going bad? What do you want to do?
Yeah, please talk me into.
All right. All right, buckle up. So talk to us about those things that are so satisfying, the things that you would call you applying the tools as you know them to be.
Yeah, it's so wonderful through when you don't have any resistance with something, how incredibly fast it can move and how it can manifest into your life.
When you don't have resistance. But the next statement is, I don't like myself very much, which means sometimes I have resistance. Isn't that all that means?
Yeah.
Isn't that all that could possibly mean? I have a different opinion of myself in some moments in time that are different from the opinion of my inner being. Well, who do you think has the broader, longer point of view about you?
Me. No, my inner being.
Your inner being. Your inner being does. And so you trust your inner being. You could say that. My inner being knows. My not liking myself is just evidence that I'm not looking at myself in the way that my inner being does. You see, one of the things that we know for sure about you is such a nice thing. You are a practiced, but maybe the best appreciator that we've encountered vibrationally. It flows so easily through you as you regard the world, others, specific things that you find along your trail. You just don't point that back at yourself very often. Why not?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Maybe I think I'm not worth it.
Why do you think that is? You see, we're making a bigger point even than you here, because this is such an important conversation. You do a great service to everyone and everything that you appreciate. And it feels good to others when someone like you is tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you hold them as your object of attention, and you flood that appreciation and love all over them. If they're anywhere in the vicinity of that, they feel really good about that. It's good for them. But if they were counting on you and you weren't around, or you looked over there instead of at them, then they might feel like a puppet that somebody let go of the strings. There are a lot of people, too many people, who are dependent upon appreciators like you for their connection to source. We want you all to not be dependent upon anybody for your connection to source. We want you to go find it so that you're not dependent upon those who sometimes can give it to you and sometimes can't. But when you first arrive, so many of you are looking to others because you look to them for food and shelter and all of that. And so sometimes early on in your life experience, somebody gets your attention and they're not appreciators of you because they're not appreciators, because they don't have the capacity to appreciate, because they're not tuned in, tapped in, turned on. But they were important enough to you that they got your attention. And so you let their opinion, which seemed like it was about you, but it really wasn't, set a sort of cycle into motion that you still carry to this day. Every now and again, something causes you to trigger that or punch that hot button, and then you sort of revert back into that, even though you don't need to. If something happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 5 years ago, it doesn't need to be active in your vibration today, but it often is, because you thought about it 20 years ago and 19 years ago and 18 years ago and 17 years ago, thought about it this morning. It's like you keep renewing your contract with it. You keep updating it. You know, do any of you have computers? Esther has computers. And do any have cell phones or anything like that? Constant updates. And if you don't update them, pretty soon it becomes inoperative, which we actually think would be a good thing. We'd like your phones to become inoperative. We're not kidding. But wouldn't it be nice if negative beliefs about yourself could become inoperative? Because you stopped updating them. You stopped thinking about them. You stopped remembering them. You stopped referencing them. That's all you got to do. When we say stop thinking about something, we don't really mean it because you can't. Law of attraction won't let you. We mean start thinking about something else, or think about nothing, as in meditation. That's your pathway to that. Because we can play this satisfied game and it will help you in the moment. And over time, big changes in your point of attraction. But this worthiness issue, it's a big one. It's been going on for a long time. And you're causing us to say more about something than we have before. Because this is what we've been saying. when you let good stuff in, that above all other things will give you the confidence of your own worthiness. And you said to us something that was a little to the contrary of that. You said, I've been letting good stuff in, but I still don't like myself. And that doesn't make sense to us. Are you letting good stuff in? Yeah. Well, then doesn't the other follow? Did we appeal to your reasoning at all? All that you're demonstrating is something that almost everybody does. Sometimes you're under the influence of your inner being, and sometimes you're under the influence of something else. Esther has some dash cards that have come back from the printer, and she thought about bumper stickers, but she didn't think it was a good idea for you to put a bumper sticker on your car that says under the influence. But she loves the dash card on her dash because it reflects back into the windshield. You can't read it if you look at it. It doesn't make any sense, but when it reflects back, now you can read it. Under the influence, because you are always under the influence of something. You're always under the influence of source or something else, you see. And sometimes you're under the influence of what somebody said who wasn't under the influence. Wouldn't it be nice if you could help your little ones remember what they know coming in? And so someone says to you, I don't like the way you did that. They send it to you in an email. I don't like the way you did that, or what you did was inappropriate. And you say, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm under the influence. Well, you're not appropriate in this way and this way and this way. Sorry, I'm getting nothing here. I'm under the influence. Listen to me. I see your mouth moving, but I don't get what you're saying. I'm under the influence. And don't you see children behaving exactly that way? Don't you? They're just ignoring you. They're doing everything that they can not to listen to you. They hide from you. They look at the floor instead of at you. Look at me. So they look at you. They look at you. They look at you, but they try not to think about what you're saying while you're looking. Are you hearing me? Yes, I hear you. What did I just say? I don't actually know, because I'm under the influence. I'm under the influence. I don't want to be under your influence of not liking me, because you don't like you, so you can't like me. You're not liking yourself right now, and you're taking it out on me. That's what's been going on. Feel better?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.